Hi, I'm Mitch, and welcome to the Restoration Road. You know, God's vision is followed by His provision. And I've seen that time and time again in business and in ministry. Today, our guests Tom Felger and Alicia Hill share their stories of experiencing firsthand God's vision is prompting, being followed by His provision, His resources. And they've done so through the ministry House of Hope. I've had the incredible opportunity to tour House of Hope and see firsthand this ministry to young men needing a new direction, needing restoration. Today you're about to hear an incredible story of God's vision being followed by His provision through House of Hope Ministries with Tom Felger and Alicia Hill. Tom and Alicia, thank you so much for being here today. I'm just
thank you.
So eager for everyone to hear your stories. Tom, you're the founder of House of Hope in Bluffton, Indiana, and you minister to young men, and I can't wait to unpack all that. And Alicia, you're the executive director, and everybody has a story of restoration. And that's what I love about what we do, is that we get to share those stories. And Alicia, I want to start with yours about how God prompted you to get involved in something like this endeavor.
I've been blessed to be in the education arena, and I had the opportunity to work in the high schools in Fort Wayne with Fort Wayne Community Schools. And I was able to design a program for teenagers that were seniors that were considered probably at risk. And my first year, I had a junior from Elmhurst High School come into my class, long blonde hair, big blue eyes. Her name was Sherry. And I just felt that the Lord really prompted me to mentor her that year. And so I spent a lot with time with her. I kept saying, you're hanging with a lot of the wrong kids, and you're doing things that probably are going to get you in trouble. Stay in education. We'll work with you. And when she got ready to start her senior year, I said, we're designing a new program. Come back and spend another year with me. So her first day in class in August 19th of 2002, she came to class, and you had the opportunity to go down with other students and spend some time. And she wanted to just stay with me, and she said, Miss Hill, during the summer I actually rededicated my life to Christ. And I was really excited about that, and she said, well, this is going to be a great year. I didn't know that 4 hours later, when she left my classroom, 5 of her so-called friends would abduct her, take her to the north side of town, ended up beating her up, shooting her execution style, and setting her on fire. And
oh my word.
It was, and it became, she was the first Amber Alert in Allen County. And that day, after that happened, I just said, Lord, this can't be the way a story ends.
No.
And so I prayed for 2 years, Lord, there has to be something different. And I just asked the Lord if He would answer that prayer when I stood at her funeral. And I promised to the other teens that came, there's probably 200 teens, that I would do all that I could to bring hope and restoration into the lives of other teens.
What was the backdrop there? Why did that happen?
I'm not sure that those 5 that day got up and said, you know what, we're going to just go out and do something that destroys somebody's life. But things just progressed and things got out of hand.
Now, you had grown up a Christian. You probably can't remember not being one,
Correct.
right? So you had that relationship with God, and that was what motivated you to invest in her?
Absolutely. Absolutely, in all teens.
And Tom, you're kind of the same way. You've been a Christian basically all your life. And you grow up in a family business. And where do you get this prompting to start something like House of Hope?
My parents had brought a lot of foster children into our home, so
Really?
I got to see firsthand that kind of modeled in front of me. I remember the faces of kids that would come, and we lived on kind of a hobby farm. My dad would take them rides on the tractor and, you know, cows and horses and that kind of stuff. And just the impact that that made on those kids. And I thought, you know, I'd like to do something like that, but at that time I couldn't really dream big enough to imagine. I mean, I imagined a farm, but never really thought that I could move in that direction. I thought mentoring is something that I saw modeled, and I want to do that. I had 3 friends that had the same passion, and so we got together and said, let's start a mentoring program. Life Church down in Bluffton was gracious enough to allow us to use the old shop class that used to be the Bluffton High School. So we thought, well, we'll teach them some hands-on mechanical stuff and, you know, some hands-on guys. And so we met, and we had invited a few kids, and none of them showed up that first day. So here's us, so us 4 older guys are standing in the parking lot going, okay, what do we do now? So we just got around the circle and prayed a simple prayer. God, we feel like you've called us to this. We're here, we're available. Send us troubled teens. We didn't really know what we were praying, I don't think, but
oh my.
So the next week we met, and a friend of mine gave me an old 4-wheeler to try to get running to work with the boys that we knew were going to show up, you know. We started pulling this thing around the parking lot, and it was popping and sputtering, and pretty soon this boy kind of looking at us across the parking lot, he said, hey, come here. You know anything about 4-wheelers? We're trying to get this thing running. Well, this guy, well, yeah, I know a little bit about 4-wheelers. So he gets his buddy to come over, and we wrench on this thing with him for an hour or so and go get some pizza, feed him pizza. Hey, we're going to do this next week. You want to bring some friends? He's like, yeah, I got some friends. He brought some friends, and they brought some friends. So week after week, it just started to grow. And we knew it was going to be rough. A good night's when the police didn't show up, literally. I'd come home, my wife would say, how'd it go? Well, the police didn't show up. Oh, it was a good night. You know, kids getting in fights or starting a fire or something. I mean, it's messy. It was, you know, some of the kids had a lot of baggage, and we just loved on them. The second year, we said, okay, we got to do something a little different. We got to get a little more order here. So we took 6 boys that were serious about the program and 8 girls, and we got into their lives and spent the year with those kids, really getting into their homes, and then we realized why they were in the situation they were. God showed us 2 things out of that. First, you have to change the environment that they're living in if you want to make a lasting impact. And the second thing is the family has to be involved in the program, because we would spend a few hours a week with these kids. They'd go home to the same environment, and things didn't change at home, so they didn't change.
As all this is going on, are you praying?
Yes. And my husband actually felt the call that we were to move, because we were really around northwest part of Fort Wayne. And so he said, I just feel that God's telling us to move. So we moved to Austin, Indiana, knew no one, and decided to start looking around for a church, and started going to Life Church. And I felt the call one day to go down into the prayer room at Life Church. And Tom's wife, who's the other co-founder, felt the same call to go down into the basement. And we met down in the basement, and they started talking about our hearts for teenagers. And then the next thing I know, Tom and Patrice said, you know what, let's just get together. And then Tom came over, and Tom asked, he said, would you be interested in starting a ministry of healing and restoration for teens called House of Hope? And I remember sitting there, and I felt like electricity hit me. And I often tell Tom, I said, you know, he didn't have anything, but I knew that this was a vision and mission from God, that he was wanting to put something together for restoration.
You know, when Jesus walked the earth, because I struggle with this, I like big, you know, and reach everybody kind of thing. But the more I go, the more I realize how those deeper relationships that have happened through coaching, or I'm involved in my daughter's Christian school, those relationships, those have incredible impact. I see later. I'm now at a point where I can see what's happened to them as adults and how they've processed that investment. And, you know, Jesus had the 3, he had the 12, he had the 120, and he had the thousands. So you can only go deep with so many. And the God of the universe modeled that for us. So I get exactly how the God of the universe that did that when he walked the earth is prompting you to do something quite similar.
After we had completed the second year with the mentoring program, the Lord connected us with the ministry of National House of Hope down in Orlando, Florida. My wife had been to, I believe, a Women of Faith conference and got on their mailing list, and we just started praying about it. God, what do we do next? What's the next step? We had some girls come and live with us for a month so we could kind of model this house parent thing and just see kind of how it worked, and learned a lot from that.
Where did they come from?
They were girls from the mentoring program that were going to get in trouble that last summer. We knew if we didn't connect. Oh man, the Lord taught us so much during that month.
How many girls were there?
There were 4 that did the summer program at our house, because, you know, we were off for the summer. Well, we took 4 of them. I remember the first night we sat around the first night we were together, I had a prayer, and we were all sat down to dinner, and the girls, it was kind of funny. We had the prayer, my kids started eating, and the girls are all just sitting there, 4 of them across the table from each other, and they're all just straight-faced, and I'm like, what's the matter, girls? They said, this is weird. This is dinner. What's weird? We've never done this before. I said, you've never sat around the table together as a family and had dinner? No. None of them had ever done that before. Mm-hmm. And that was one of those things that, okay, the Lord used that to show us what a value there is to having a meal together.
Yes.
And that's one of the things that prompted us to want a home style, a home feeling atmosphere.
Absolutely.
For the kids on a farm setting that wasn't clinical. I shouldn't say clinical. It wasn't institutional. It doesn't have an institutional feel.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, you got me thinking about what your parents did with foster children. How long would they be in your home, and what did you think about that? Did you feel like this is my brother or my sister for this time period? So what was the time period that a person would be in your house?
It varied. Could be a month, could be 2 years. Some of them were friends of my sister that were just in trouble, and it was very informal, just, hey, you need a place to stay, come on over. And I know one gal stayed for about a year, and then another boy, a friend of my brother's. But through the foster program, we'd have kids that we had one boy that was there for 2 years when he was really young, and we wanted to adopt him and couldn't at the time. And so there was just a lot of, we really connected with those kids.
Well, we got to get to what you're doing now. So where does the opportunity for the farm come from?
We heard the call to do something more, and then we got a solicitation from National House of Hope in Orlando. Went on their website, and the stories of these kids were just like ours. And we got to go check this out. The Lord provided us for us to go down there and check it out. And we did, and there was an opportunity for quiet time just to listen to the Lord, and God spoke so clear to my heart. He said, I want you to start a House of Hope. There's 3 things. It's a residential home that needs to be on a farm setting, and there will be business-related income to sustain it. And so that's what we have continued to pursue, and that's what I came back to Alicia with. And, when the Lord crossed her path with my wife, and
so
that was the next step.
You got the farm. And did you get house parents right away?
We actually started out with a home in Bluffton. I was at a conference and had prayed about, what do we do next? Okay, ready to start this. And the Lord gave me a picture of a house in Bluffton, and went back to Bluffton, and the house that I had a picture of was kind of small compared to this big house that we ended up with. There's a whole story that goes with that of God's miraculous provision for this beautiful home in town that was kind of run down, and we remodeled. A community came together right on Main Street, kind of a gateway to the community. That's what God told me. This will be a gateway to the community. Got a lot of people involved, and then the farm came later on down the road. So we actually started residential in town at this home, which is now our school and administrative offices.
I started in June of 2009, and since that 2006 actually, and I have been with the ministry, and God's always provided. And I always say this, what He's done for us is, as we started, we both had a ministry heart. And I think that's what starts, and a real passion for the teens. And as we've grown, He's helped us with the business aspect, to be a non-for-profit. And so with that, I've been there day one and watched us just continue to build and restore that house in town. And then when that was presented to us about the farm aspect, we are now on 40 acres in Wells County, and we raise cattle, and the boys are a part of that. There's 4 distinctions of our program. One of the key distinctions you're talking about is the parents have to be involved. And when you go into our home settings, you can see that. It is a home. And the other thing that
I've seen it.
Oh, it is. And so that's one of the things we want to bring into the boys and the families. But they have a year-round school that they go to called Hope Academy that's state accredited. And they do weekly and group and family counseling. And we do parenting classes.
That's through the Crossing is how you did the school?
It is. And that's been a real blessing for us.
Oh, it's incredible.
It really is. And then the physical aspect, when you go back to the farm, they actually can work every day with the cattle. We have a farm manager that oversees, and then we have a gentleman that oversees the Brick House Farm self-serve farm store.
Describe that, because I thought that was really interesting when I pulled up.
You know what, Tom, because he has a really good heart for the Brick House Farm self-farm store, so why don't you go ahead and share with that?
Oh, yeah. People can come in, purchase meat. Right there we have, I think it's a 16 by 12 building with freezers all around the perimeter. So you walk in, it's very simple. So there's all kinds of different frozen cuts of, fillets and ribeyes and all kinds of hamburgers and steaks and ribs. And so we do pork, chicken, and beef and eggs. And all of it is hormone antibiotic free. Raising it the old style way. It's all premium product, very good product. So
you sent some home with me after I visited, and then I ended up ordering a half beef. And man, is it good! Oh my goodness, it's phenomenal. It is just outstanding. I love the fact that you're doing something, that you had the prompting, and it's because you're a business guy, and you see this in nonprofits all the time. What's the self-sustaining piece? Do you have to go out and always ask for money? Or is there something that'll help sustain it, and you design this in a way that there's some sustenance?
At this point.
I'm sure you're not covering your whole budget yet, but I thought that was really cool, and I assume the honor system works for that.
It has worked well there.
And describe the house itself, because I thought that was really beautiful on how you're doing that.
The families come in, and the boys stay with us anywhere from 12 to 18 months. So that's a long time, and that's a big commitment for the families. So we really do become very close. One of the things Tom talked about earlier was that we can take up to 7 boys. And so because behind every boy, there's probably 7 other people, whether it's a mother, a father, a stepfather, a grandparent. And so we really get into the heart of being with the families. So we want to have an environment where everyone can feel safe, comfortable, because you think about it, no one likes to go into the closet in your house that probably has, it's the worst. And they have to come in every week and open that door and be able to say, you know what, we need to help you straighten things around. And so I love that environment. The family table that Tom talked about, every Sunday night we have a family meal with the families. So the parents come, and our staff comes, and the boys come.
Every Sunday night?
Yes. It's real important for us. Every other weekend the boys go home. So on the weekends the boys come home. We may do something, just some snacks, but that family table is very important.
Oh, it sure would be. I love how you have the Bible verses all throughout the house. It reminded me of Deuteronomy, and write these on your door frames. And I think those images will be burned in their minds forever.
Yeah.
Now, do you get the young men, do they come from the judicial system, or do the parents voluntarily bring them because they know there's issues that they're having trouble with? How does that work?
It pretty much comes from a variety, usually families in crises. So one of the things, a boy could be finding himself on probation, and a family says, you know what, I want more than just having him put in a juvenile facility. I want to work with our son. And so usually the families end up calling us. They may find us on a website. A church may find about it. It's things like this, word of mouth. It's just finding out where can we get services for the whole family, not just our son.
And I love that holistic approach. So the parents or grandparents, the guardians are all on the same page as everyone else.
There's an orientation period of 3 weeks, so that when they come in, they don't see their parents at all for that 3-week period. And then they'll stay with us for a year to 18 months is the average stay that a boy is there in the program. And so it's a big commitment from parents as well. We have parents that are driving from south of Indianapolis, every week to come to counseling, parenting classes, and visitation with their boy. But it takes a commitment from the whole family for that restoration.
You've experienced miracle after miracle in what you've done, and another one of those was how you found your house parents, or maybe how they found you in their internet service. Alicia, you want to describe that?
There's a site out there called houseparents.net, and just went ahead and put something out there. And the couple that we have Joe and Brenda Coe. That day they looked on and found it, and it was just one of those connections. And at the same time, the
I
Lord
think it was
was
the only day their internet service was up for like weeks or something.
yes, yes. So, and they called, and so their commitment to their ministry they were at, they needed to stay another 6 weeks. And so at that point, we had to decide, would this work if we didn't have house parents until they could come. So our board of directors stepped in, and they literally helped us for those 6 weeks until Joe and Brenda could come. And that has been a real blessing, because we have a wonderful board that just really takes ownership and just, they're there with the boys. And so we really learned to become just a real team.
They probably said, now, Tom, this is a real hands-on experience, is what you're saying, to be a board member?
Yeah.
But that is so cool that they're involved in that way. How did you get the teachers for the school? And was that through the crossing, or did you have to go out and find somebody for that as well? Because it's an incredible place. I mean, it's just amazing what you're doing there.
Yeah. I remember Alicia saying, Tom, I don't feel like we're supposed to advertise for this. I think we're just supposed to pray, and God's going to send them to us. So here we go.
Who does that one, Rich?
So it's all right, let's pray. We prayed, and sure enough.
Yeah, we did. We never advertised, and the right person. I mean, we got because he just said, I'll bring the right person to you.
And it happened.
Yeah, Cammie Solway is our master degree teacher with a heart for working with boys and just special education and all the credentials that we needed. And you stand back and are in awe, because he has provided. I mean, the best part about looking at you, Mitch, is to be able to say he's provided every one of our needs. He has just taken care of us. And the thing is, he loves these boys, because financially, we don't take any state or federal government. We do it all by donations and grants and individual contributions.
Which gives you the freedom to exercise your faith and everything.
Absolutely. But no boy has ever been turned away because of lack of financial. We work off a sliding scale, but the part that I love, and this is where I've seen miracles, a family will say, I just don't think we can afford it. And God's people just start up and start providing. We actually have a scholarship program there. People can get involved into the life of a young person. And maybe we have one of the most steady donors, and she gives, probably somebody would say, a small amount. But that check is there faithfully every month for those boys. And that is just his provisions. So we're just blessed.
It's just amazing to me when you step out in faith and take God at his word and take his word literally and do what it says, how he shows up. Never ceases to amaze me.
Whatever you ask in my name will be provided to you. I think that it's his heart, it's his identity, it's who he is. I have a friend who's a physician, and he administrates a hospital, and his recruitment program for the surgeons that are at the hospital is prayer. And every single one of them have come as a result of prayer. So you're not the only one doing that. I think it's just incredible, and it's a testimony that I can grow from, because I don't know that I'm quick enough to pray and to depend on God. So, I mean, you've been a tremendous witness to me today. You've been at it long enough that you probably have a story of restoration of a boy who has come through there. Can you share one of those?
I will tell you that one of the families, and he has said, use my name many times, but Will and his son Willie came to our program, and that was probably one of the roughest intakes, because the young man was so angry, and the father was so in pain to have to bring his son here. And their relationship was, the young man didn't want to go to school. He had run away. He was actually living with his uncle and aunt because they couldn't be at home because things was just in disarray. And as they went through the program, the healing there had been a divorce. Healing became through those husband and ex-wife. Healing came with that young man. He is now back in school. He's working on a future. I mean, when they left, the bond between those two, and what happens is we get letters then afterwards, and they stay in touch. What's been interesting to me is the families, even after they're out of the program, they continue to contact us. But one of the letters I got last fall was, my son and I are out hunting today. just the two of us, and you have no idea what that's like. And so Malachi 4:6 is pretty important to us, about turning the hearts of the fathers to the sons and the sons to the fathers. And to see that happening over and over. And Mitch, not every story is positive, but we know that we're planting seeds. And so we're able to, we want to give biblical truth and Christ's love while they're with us. Because there's, as of today, we've had 15 boys that go through our program. And the part that I love is that, remember Sherry, I wanted to see, she was trying to get home safe that night. And so my mission is, I want them back home safe, but I want them eternally safe. And we get to share the gospel. And that's why I appreciate when Tom came. Our foundation of our ministry is prayer. And I can't, Tom and Patrice Felger are two of the most prayerful people. And because of their prayers, thank you, Tom, you brought this group of people together that have a heart to see healing of the teens and the families.
Amen. Tom and Alicia, thank you so much for being here today and sharing your stories. May God continue to bless and multiply your efforts in this ministry.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mitch. Thanks for having us.
Well, what about you? Is God prompting you to do something special in a ministry of restoration? In fact, I invite you to maybe just take 5 minutes a day over the next week, and in that 5-minute period, be alone with God and just ask God a simple sentence. Hey, God, what do you want me to do? And just take 5 minutes to listen to His still small voice. You know, I think so much of prayer has been taught to be talking. But what would happen if we would listen to God? Ruth Graham says if you pray for only about a few minutes, the only voice you're going to hear is your own. So I'd like you to block out 35 minutes in this week and to pray to God and ask God that simple question, God, what do you want me to do? And then like Tom and like Alicia, hear that prompting and then take the first steps. Make your muscles move with your prayers through obedience that comes by faith. Take those steps of faith. Obedience literally meaning to listen under to God's prompting, to His Holy Spirit leading you. And experience how God's vision will be followed by His provision as He uses you for your greatest value, and that's to bring His restoration to others.